think it's a very difficult time for independent filmmakers. It's never been easy, and now it's less easy. So people have to be very creative about how they approach fundraising. It certainly isn't something in which people can rely on foundation funding or government funding. There was a time when you could get enough funding for a whole project from a single foundation or a single government entity. That's really not happening anymore. I think people need to be creative about types of funding and also about who they can reach out to and who they can partner with to raise money for films. Well, of course, now there's crowdsourcing, which is on the internet generally, and there's several different Kickstarter and Indiegogo and several other sites that you can put your film on and raise money, or you can simply create your own site and have a donation campaign through the website. So that's a new source. I haven't heard of much money being raised. The maximum I've heard about for independent filmmaking in the U.S. from crowdsourcing has been in the 20,000 range. But that, coupled with other kinds of grants, you might get you where you need to go. Social media relates a lot to the fundraising side because it's, of course, you use social media to do crowdsourcing, but also you use social media to find your natural audience for your film. So if you're making a film about environmental issues, you find those groups that are active on the web that are doing environmental issues, and through them you create partnerships and can raise money from their constituents. So social media has become very important in raising money. It's also very important in creating audience. And if you can show that you have, say, 200,000 people signed up for your list, it becomes a lot easier to raise money because people know there will be an audience, and so if they're making a donation, they know it's going to go somewhere. The film's going to get finished and people are going to want to see it. It takes a long time to raise the money. So you do need patience, and you do need to be somewhat aggressive. You need to find donors that are winning from making a donation to your film. In a way, you have to be able to take no for an answer, but not take no for an answer. So if a donor says, no, this is not my thing, I don't want to fund this film, you can still say, well, how else could you help me? Is there another way? Do you know someone? Are there other resources that you have access to that can help? And it's surprising how much people, if they're given alternatives, will try if they relate to the project and think it needs to get done. I think it is distinguished, unfortunately, by the lack of an overall commitment in the nonprofit sector to film as an art form. I think that there's some recognition that film is an art form and needs to be funded just like the other arts, but I don't think that's across the board. And especially among foundations, I think very few foundations fund media projects. Overall, when you think of how many foundations there are and how much money is being spread around, filmmakers are getting a really small piece of that. I think the most important thing is to see the films that you think are effective in your field, in what if you're doing environmental, for instance, or women's issues. You know, what are those films that have moved you and have helped organize or helped educate the groups that you're interested in organizing or educating, the groups that you're funding? What are the films that they like and want to use? And use that as a guide, use those films as guideposts for the next film that's going to come out. I think it's important to rely on your constituents. If you fund Planned Parenthood, then Planned Parenthood might be able to tell you what kinds of media has not yet been made that they could really use in their organizing.